We're seeing thunderstorms across parts of the inland northwest right now. What does the rest of the weekend hold? I'll have the forecast.
And our community is saying goodbye to a military hero. The last Pearl Harbor survivor here in the inland northwest will be laid to rest today. Thanks so much, everyone, for being with us. I'm Laura Papetti.
And I'm Jen York. We will get to that story and more in just a moment. But first, we do want to check in with Michelle Boss in the Weather Center. She's filling in today for Evan Arani. Michelle, you're talking thunderstorms.
Yeah, it was kind of a gloomy start to the day, but just kind of some steady light rain. Nothing really exciting. Most of that steady light rain is pushing off to the southeast as we take a look at our satellite and radar. Steady light rain pushing off into the Idaho Panhandle, but coming in behind it, more scattered shower activity and even a little bit of thunderstorm activity. Just starting to pick up the first few bolts of lightning there right around the Cheney area. So they're also getting quite a bit of a downpour right at this time. So EWU students probably having to run for cover there with the downpour and the lightning. We're looking at more scattered showers throughout the day, but also some colder weather coming in this weekend. We're looking at snow levels down to 3,000 feet. So cold that in parts of Glacier National Park, they are under a winter storm watch for this Saturday and Sunday, looking at the potential for accumulating snows in the lower elevations and up to 8 inches of snow in the mountains. Of course, nothing that crazy here locally, but temperatures will definitely take a hit this weekend, and you'll notice how much cooler it is. Currently 55 degrees in Spokane right now. It's in the 60s and 70s across the Columbia Basin. We'll get a little bit of more sunbreak activity this afternoon, which should push our afternoon temperatures back up into the lower 60s, but we'll also see the winds start to pick up. Currently, winds are calm here. We're just starting to see the winds increase out in Moses Lake and Wenatchee. We'll see our winds start to come up this afternoon and evening with gusts to near 30 miles per hour by this evening and overnight. As far as temperatures are concerned, we're a little bit on the cooler side right now. We do have that slight chance of showers and even a thunderstorm continuing through the middle of the afternoon as highs warm up into the lower 60s, but no such warmth this weekend. Chance of showers on Saturday with a high of only 52, lows dipping down into the lower to middle 30s Sunday morning. We should see some sun on Sunday, but highs again only in the lower 50s.
Michelle, thank you. Today, we remember and honor a member of the greatest generation. Flags are flying at half-staff today in the Spokane area honoring Ray Garland. He was a decorated Marine, earning 2 Purple Hearts and a Bronze Star during World War II and the Korean War. And while the wars ended decades ago, he brought history to life when he would tell his story. Garland was the last inland Northwest Pearl Harbor survivor.
He died last week in Coeur d'Alene at the age of 96. Well, he survived the December 7th attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941. He spoke often of the tragedy and shared his memories from that day. In 2016, what you're seeing here, Spokane city leaders honored him at the 75th anniversary of the attack. Garland's memorial service is set to begin in about an hour at 1 p.m. It's happening at the Christ the King Lutheran Church in Coeur d'Alene.
And we sat down for our last interview with Garland about a year ago now. He tells us in his own words the impact Pearl Harbor had on his life.
Have you always loved planes and ships? I see a lot of them around here.
Oh, I like building model airplanes. Gives me something to do. Keeps an old man's mind a little bit active.
Tinkering with his model planes in his basement is one way that Ray Garland keeps sharp at age 95. But sometimes, for the right audience,
That's a Bronze Star.
he'll journey down memory lane, too.
Have you been back to Pearl Harbor?
Twice.
What was that like?
The first time I took the wife with us, but it was okay. I don't talk to other people much about it. Most of the people that I'm around now aren't even aware I was at Pearl Harbor. I'll tell you, hardly a day goes by, and good or bad, that don't remind you.
December 7th.
The actual day at Pearl Harbor?
Yeah.
Well, seen it when the Oklahoma turned over and the West Virginia was there, and the Arizona was where you could throw a spud and hit it. It was right in front of us when it blew up. And everybody in that gun bucket was concussion, you know, because we were facing it. It was a complete surprise. And I seen these planes in the back, and I heard the first concussions when they were dropping bombs on the airfields first. So they were bombing Hickam Field and they were bombing the airfield on Ford Island. And I remember the one thing, I turned around and this corporal said, "Turn around, Garland." So I turned around. And then the next thing I knew, the Japanese, it was a dive bomber that had dropped its bomb on Ford Island, but it came down and it was strafing the battleships, strafing as they came by. But it was just, I could see his goggles on Japanese, the pilot when he come by, just a glimpse, you know. The sailor and I, we happened to grab the hose and we were spraying, trying to keep the burning oil from the Arizona from burning in the back of the Tennessee.
When that's happening to you, do you think you're gonna die in this attack? Do you think you're gonna live? What do you feel?
I didn't think about that. I didn't think. All I thought was is I've got a job to do. And amazingly enough, all the people around me just went about the whole thing. Of course, they'd been aboard ship a long time. And they just, everybody did their job. And that was it.
We spoke to you a year ago on the 75th anniversary of Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
So each time this anniversary comes up, what goes through your head? How do you feel?
Oh, I remember it like they just had a big program on the TV about it, and that brings back memories when you see all of it like that. When something like that happens, your mind retains that stuff. I mean, you don't get rid of it, let's put it that way. You live with that stuff.
Rob Harris, KREM 2 News.
Again, that was our last interview with Garland about a year ago. Garland's memorial service, again, is set to begin in about an hour at 1 p.m. It's happening at the Christ the King Lutheran Church in Coeur d'Alene. You can read more about Garland right now on KREM.com. You can also find that information on the KREM 2 mobile app.
All right. Coming up this Monday, there will be some World War II veterans flying on honor flight here from the Spokane area. The nonprofit, of course, takes veterans to Washington, D.C. to see the military memorials. The flight is taking off early Monday morning, and KREM 2 will be there live to talk with the veterans during the KREM 2 Morning News Show. The group is flying nearly 100 veterans back east, and there will be World War II, Korea, and Vietnam era veterans on the flight, and dozens of honor flight volunteers. And again, we are thrilled to be chatting with them on Monday morning. Always a very emotional and very supportive time for the veterans. They get to be with each other and also see those memorials built exactly for them. So we want to thank Honor Flight. And if you're interested in reading more about them, we have that under our Salute to Service page on KREM.com. Okay, it is 12:08 right now. New at noon, President Trump is the keynote speaker today at the National Rifle Association.
They're having a convention. It's underway in Indianapolis. The president says he disagrees with those who say the NRA is getting weaker. During his speech, the president also addressed Robert Mueller's investigation into the 2016 meddling of the presidential election.
They tried for a coup, didn't work out so well. And I didn't need a gun for that one, did I? All was taking place at the highest levels in Washington, D.C.
Vice President Mike Pence also spoke at the convention.
Also coming in new today, a federal judge gave the Trump administration 6 months to identify children separated from their parents at the U.S.-Mexico border. This is according to the Washington Post. In the report, it includes children separated before the government's zero-tolerance policy began. The administration will now have to review about 47,000 cases of immigrant children taken into government custody.
And again, new at noon, the Washington State House and Senate may have a budget deal. Budget writers reached a tentative agreement, but will not release the details until tomorrow. The legislative session is scheduled to end on Sunday. If the budget is not passed, the legislature goes into special session.
All right, 12:09 right now. National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day is coming up this weekend, and we'll tell you how you can safely dispose of your unneeded prescriptions.